Today we're going to discuss the expensive midfield premiums. We're going to do a part 2 on guys like Macrae, Dustin Martin, guys in that bracket and below. But today, we're going to talk about the really expensive midfielders. Just quickly before we start, we have a Discord channel going. We have about 100 users at the moment, so we're going to have live discussion going on there in the JL team. And so let's get stuck into it. So the first guy I want to talk about is one Jackson Macrae. Now he's a lock in my team. You can justify picking against him because of his price, but man, this guy's a bad man. For what he did last year, he had around 1 or 2% ownership, and the first 9 rounds he averaged 139. That's insane. These are Hall of Fame numbers, right? That's what I think Abla averaged 1 year, something like that. And he ended up averaging, if you take his injury out of the equation, he averaged 131 last year. So he did the injury, he came back, and I think all of his scores except for one were over 110, including like a 150 and a 160. I like how Jack Macrae plays. I think it's fantasy friendly. He gets a little bit on the outside, most of it on the inside. Doesn't spend much time forward, although I think he does spend a little bit of time there. He's got a huge tank, he's tall. When he's on TV, he's always on the screen. And he's just a really damaging player, and even from a young age, you could see he was destined to be a really good fantasy player. I think in his second year, he averaged 100, I think. Something like that. In his second year, that's ridiculous. So you don't see that very often. I think he's had 4 years over 100 average, and he's still like 23 or something. So I really like Jackson Macrae. I think I don't want to deal with him repeating last year and not having him, because that was painful. I think I had a good year last year, but I didn't really have Macrae when I needed him, and that hurt a lot. I think a lot of us were in the same boat, but I like Macrae. I'm picking him. I don't want him to repeat last year and not have him, so I like Jack Macrae. He's a silent killer. He doesn't talk much, and he does a lot of damage on field. He had 33 touches in the grand final 2 years ago. I don't think anyone noticed him, but he had a good game. So anyway, that's enough on Macrae. Next we have Patrice Cripps. I like Cripps. I'm kind of surprised he played 22 games last year. I kind of see him as an injury risk, but he's not really an injury risk based on his games played history. He hasn't really missed that many games, so I think he averaged almost 130 in the last 10 rounds last year. That's pretty good. So he's another one where while he is very expensive, you don't want to miss out if he, averages 130 for the first couple of rounds, which he's capable of. So I can understand if you don't pick him, but he's a very popular pick, and he's almost unstoppable in the midfield. I think the only player that got the better of him last year, I think, was Scott Pendlebury in the first encounter of Carlton versus Collingwood. Cripps also had a game where he scored like 50. He should not have played that game. He was battered up. He was just playing really sore. He could barely move the whole game. So I think that's what happens when you play like Cripps. His game style is very taxing. It's very crash and bash in the midfield. So honestly, if I were Carlton, I would play him more forward for now, because it's a developing year. And when Carlton get a lot better, I would play him in the full-time midfield. But that's just me, because he's more of an injury risk right now playing full-time midfield. But he did play 22 games last year. So I like Cripps. He's currently in my team. Might come out of my team, I'm not sure. But I do like him. I think he's a solid pick. Superstar, future Brownlow medalist. When Carlton start winning games, just give him the Brownlow pretty much. Next we have Clayton Oliver, and I'd like to talk more about him, but the fact is he's had shoulder surgery on both his shoulders. That's not good. Not one shoulder, both shoulders. So He was supposed to be in full training by now. A couple of weeks ago they said he was going to be. He's not. So that's not good. So I don't like Oliver. I'm not going near him. Shoulders take a long time to fully heal. They can take up to a year. I'm not sure exactly on the specifics of his injury, but either way, double shoulder surgery and not in full training yet, when his surgery was a long time ago. I think it was November last year or something, maybe earlier, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, great player. For his age, probably the best player at his age, but not for me this year because of the shoulder surgery. Now we have Nat Fyfe. I don't love Nat Fyfe. Like, he's a superstar. His peak is only matched by King Patrick Dangerfield. My issue with Fyfe is, I think from pre-season he had some elbow problem. It wasn't a big issue, but he also a couple of weeks ago was walking laps instead of training. I'm not sure why, but he's just a guy that gets injured far too much. Not far too much, but he gets injured when like every year, and gets suspended as well. Quite a fair bit. In Supercoach terms, Fyfe is overrated because most years we have to trade him out. But he's a superstar. But in Supercoach, I don't like it. I think he should average 120, but I've had enough of his injuries and stuff like that. So just something always goes wrong with him. So I'm not picking Fyfe. It's a fine pick if you pick him. There's risk attached. I'd rather use my risk elsewhere. Take more risks elsewhere than take one in the midfield for a 600k midfielder. So no to Nat Fyfe for me, but it's fine if you want to pick him. Don't let me stop you, because he could make me pay for not picking him quite easily. Next we have Josh Kelly. Out of contract this year. I think he's gone. I think it was kind of a weak move for him to sign for 2 years 2 years ago. That basically says, look, maybe I'm at GWS, maybe we can win a flag while we're here, but after 2 years, I want to leave anyway. So I don't think he'll sign for GWS, but what do I know really? But I didn't like that 2 year signing when he had a 9-year deal on the table from North. So I think it was 9 years, something like that, or 9 million or something. So on top of that, he's also had 3 lingering injuries over the past, I think, 9 months. So he had a groin injury for a long time last year. He had a hip problem. I'm not sure if I think that was lingering for a while, I'm not sure. But at the end of the year, he did have a knee problem, and he had surgery on both his knee and his hip. I think he's in full training right now. I'm not sure if he's fully over them, but I think we can deem Josh Kelly right now as an injury risk. That's a lot of different injuries to have over a short amount of time. So having said that, he's another one that has the talent to win the Brownlow. He's a superstar. When he plays, he just glides. He plays with a lot of grace, if that makes sense. He's really good to watch as a player. I'm not picking him because I personally see him as an injury risk, but I think he's a fine pick nonetheless. He can go. He's one of the few players in this game that can go 120. So I don't hate the pick, but I'll probably pass at this stage. But we'll get a better look at him in the JLT. No doubt he's a superstar though. One guy I am going to pick this year is Lachie Neale. Now, I don't actually understand why he moved to Brisbane. It was a little weird. He's not from Brisbane. I think his wife has like a business in Perth or something like that. So I don't understand why he moved to Brisbane. Brisbane have a pretty good upcoming team. I think they'll finish between maybe 9th and 11th this year. We'll see what happens, but maybe he didn't like being in the shadow of Fyfe. But yeah, anyway, in Supercoach terms, Lachie Neale is a superstar, hard trainer, very consistent for a very long amount of time, and I think he was underappreciated at Fremantle. I think, is it 3 years straight of 110 plus? That's pretty good. So I really like Lachie Neale, and I think this is the year. I'm not sure he's going to increase his average a lot, but he's going to get a bit more recognition this year, I think, and I expect him to be All-Australian this year. So he's a really good player, really good accumulator, really strong through the core, which does make it hard to tag him, but then again, he is a little undersized in terms of height. So I think what's going to happen is teams know Zorko cannot, he gets weak at the knees when he gets tagged. So I think Zorko's going to get tagged early on, Neale's going to be free, he's going to play very well, and then the tag will shift to Neale eventually, and I don't know how he's going to handle that. I just don't know. I can't tell you. So yeah, it's an interesting one, but I do like Lachie Neale for his durability, and yeah, I just think he's a really good player. I'm not expecting much more than 110, but I trust Lachie Neale, so that's why I'm picking him. Next we have Adam Treloar. I haven't seen him in any team so far. I've heard that he's still recovering slightly from that double hamstring injury last year. That's not good, and I don't want none of it. So, I'm not sure how he's going right now, but a few weeks ago I think he was taking it easy on the training track. So I don't like Treloar much, but I think he might be an upgrade target. Plus, I don't know how he's going to go in Collingwood's, I don't know, $4 million midfield or whatever. They've just got so many guns in the midfield. So I still think Treloar, fully fit, averages 105 to 110. So we'll see what happens with Treloar, but not for me this year. I prefer Lachie Neale by far at around the same price. But yeah, fully fit, I think you can make a case. So monitor him in the JLT, but still probably not. Next we have Coniglio. I haven't looked much at Coniglio, but he's had a full preseason as far as I know. I think he's a free agent this year. Same with Kelly, so they need to play well to up their value. So this is kind of interesting. Coniglio, really good season last year, had a few down games, but really took over a few games as well. With Shield, does that increase his scoring? I don't know. But yeah, I don't have much to say on Coniglio. I think he's a fine pick. Like, I don't mind it at all, but I'm not expecting like huge things from Coniglio. I think he might have 115 in him. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but yeah, I'm gonna pass on Coniglio. But yeah, I think if you want to pick him, it's fine. Next we have Gaff is suspended, so we can't pick him. And the last guy I'll touch on is Elliot Yeo. So I kind of like Elliot Yeo a lot. I think he's a superstar. In the fourth quarter, West Coast need him, Elliot Yeo takes over the game, wins them the game. He's done that a number of times. He has had surgery on his toe. I think it was his toe, but yeah, I think he's in full training almost, if not he is. So I don't mind Elliot Yeo. I see him more as an upgrade target, but I think he's a really good contested ball winner. I don't think West Coast will use him much elsewhere. I don't think he'll go to halfback much at all, if at all. So he should play midfield. Yeah, but out of the West Coast midfielders, I like Yeo the most. Super talent, and he won them the grand final last year because he got good enough to a point where he got tagged instead of Shuey, which allowed Shuey to win them the game. So I see Yeo as an upgrade target. Don't have a lot of info on him, but I know with the surgery might affect him because he can do less running and stuff like that. So I don't mind Yeo, but maybe an upgrade target. So that's all that I'll discuss today. We'll discuss the other guys in another video, and yeah, so my starting midfield right now is, just for fun, looks like this. It's these three plus another two guys that are a lot cheaper. So anyway, that's all from me. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.